now, without further ado, let's welcome the artist Pok Chi Lau. Yeah, thank you so much.
So, I really like to welcome you. My first time able to present anything in New York. I thank the museum to give me this opportunity to introduce this 50 years of work. I think it would be meaningful for me to explain a little bit according to why I started it. When I was a kid in Hong Kong, my parents had a little shop, like a store about the width of this television screen. 3 deep, okay? That's our livelihood. And yet my uncle returned from Canada. He didn't meet my expectation of this Chinese who made it in America. He was poor. He was a lumber guy. He was a dishwasher guy. So it occurred to me at that time, well, he's different. What's America like? So I got here in 1969 myself to Canada, to Toronto, and saw a whole different pictures. Because I need to save money to go to school in California, I went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. Spent 1 year in the kitchen, and I realized that some of these old Chinese guys in the 80s still working in the kitchen. And I was told some of these guys died standing in the kitchen, wearing the apron. Wow, I said, this is a completely different picture than what I expected in Hong Kong. So I decided to photograph my colleagues in the kitchen, okay? And then by the time I left to California, went to San Francisco, and I look up the window. You can do the same thing in Chinatown. Mott Street, instead of looking at the restaurant or the souvenir shop, you go look at upstairs, look into the windows. What do you see on these windows? It's a completely different community. It's private. Some of them been here 30 years. So I think if you don't have a chance to see this kind of reality, make an effort to understand where Toishan folks came from. A lot of us have done better than our ancestors, like myself. Some of you have done really well. Some of you have never been to the neighborhood, your grandparents, great-grandparents, to find out how did they live. How did they survive all these years in the US being immigrants? So let's begin from here. A picture of my son, mixed race, half Japanese and half Cantonese, born in Lawrence, Kansas. First day of being an Asian American. On the right is my brand new granddaughter, born in Montreal. So what does Toishan mean to us now? They won't be able to speak it. We are losing Toishan dialect left and right, okay, because it's not the lingo of modern day communication. So, can you read the text from where you're in the back?
Yeah.
中華醫院新義莊。義莊 is a place where they give you practically free burial because you're so poor. Well, why did I go there? Because of this movie. This is a chapter in Chinese history that's seldom told. Okay? Hardly anyone knew about this. That our ancestor in those times is when you die, you go home. How do you go home? You arrive Hong Kong, you take another boat in the coffin, and through Macau area, you go back to Toishan, Hoiping, as far as you can go. This is like a creek, no more than, the width of this room. And they have to roll this back from Hong Kong. It took several days to transfer the bones back into the home village. So, Toisan Waa in the background. So I sneaked into this hospital cemetery and found this really, really old coffins waiting at one time to be returning home. However, after 1949, the Chinese government stopped all that. So all these coffins just have no place to go. So later on, they come in boxes, just like the ones in Cuba. Can you see? Can you see? Okay. My parents, 1968 in Hong Kong, and they were immigrants from the home villages to Guangzhou, to Samsui, and then to Hong Kong, running around Civil War, Japanese invasion, Halifax, Nova Scotia. And these are Hoiping, Toishan people. My first time photographing mixed race marriages and children. You see the handsome man?
Làm tôi.
Em tôi mà.
Hút làm tôi.
So, I want to know, how did our ancestors make a living? So in 1976, San Francisco, I ran to the district at night, 11 o'clock. I drove all the way from LA up north to start working in photographing. And I thought, I shouldn't be going to bed. I want to see what Chinatown was like at 11 o'clock. And this is what I found. So how many of you worked in a garment factory? Anyone here? Anyone's parents worked in? Yeah. So there are a number of you who is familiar with this site. So the reason this factory is empty is because all these ladies thought that I was an informer. So they all get out and start screaming at me on the street when I was still photographing inside. They could say, "Doi bao." So I didn't know anyone in Chinatown, in San Francisco. So I befriended some people, and this guy let me stay in his room in an apartment. I slept on the floor. So that's how I get to know the people in the working class in Chinatown. I was asked earlier by the librarian, an archivist at the New York Library. She said, "Do you have any documents of how you communicate with these people so that you can get in to photograph?" I said, "What document? There's no letter, no email." I mean, these people are working class. Some of them don't even write. You knock on the door and say yes or no, they let you in. But speaking Toishan is the key.
Yes.
If you don't speak Toishan, you're out there. You speak Toishan, you go upstairs or downstairs. So, Mr. Lam, all this is newspaper clippings of immigration laws that have changed within the years. And the children, his son is here, grandson is here. He had never seen these people, and he passed away before they could come over. So, that's the history of Toishan. Chinese exclusion law. right? And the bachelor society. And the bachelors finally got their wives over here, they die first before the wife. And they can't get along with the wife because they've been separated for so long. So these are San Francisco born Chinese. Both of them speak Toisan.
Is that Mao in the back?
There's Mao,
In San Francisco?
1975.
Yeah.
He was pretty popular. Propaganda can go all the way around to Cuba. Brooklyn. How many of you have ancestors who work in these factories? At least 1, 2, 4. So, some of you know this scene. This building is 4 stories tall, all speaking Toisan. What happened to these folks? I should like to know, because it is such a hard way to make a living. Vancouver. I could never imagine, born in Hong Kong, that would be seeing this kind of cooking. There's your gas stove, and your kettle. That's the way they lived in Chinatown in the old days in Vancouver. I don't know Vancouver.
Is that a wood burning stove?
Yes,
As late as 78.
correct.
Wow.
So this is the way to hang the laundry. So this guy learned fast. He found out his friend passed away from the newspaper, and he cut out the newspaper clipping and put apples, this knickknacks to give him an offering for them. That's how pure these friendships are in the old days. There's Grandfather's bed on the right, his girlfriend's stocking on the left. So how many of you have seen rooms like this? Good, at least 2 of you. So I was in rooms like this in Pittsburgh, Vancouver, San Francisco, of course New York. So going away from the cities. Hopeville is about half an hour from the Mexican border. Mexicali, Calexico, right in the desert. And these folks, they grow lotus roots. The dirt is taller than me, that they dig all the way down to get lotus roots. And yet Cantonese opera, hang on, just like in New York City. Pittsburgh. In one of these rows of small rooms, the second floor, you see rooms like this. And a lot of this with family, clan connections, they can stay there. And that's how some of these people pass away. San Francisco, Pittsburgh. Laundry, small town. So without speaking Toisan, it's very difficult to get them to trust you. So the good life in the suburb. You make your own xiu na.
Oh, yeah.
There's my son, at that time, 2 or 3 years old. So I took him to places to photograph and get to know people. So he can still speak very good Cantonese.
That's good.
Veterans. How many of you are veterans? Didn't you join the army? They didn't put you to fight Vietnam? Your father? Havana. So this is away from Chinatown now. This is the middle of the United States. Yes, they're very good living, but they're also losing the Toisan Cantonese culture. Give and take, you know. So go to Mexico, Tijuana. So Floro de Loto is down here. The Chinese school is up here. So this guy that I met, he would try to make a living, making money to support the school upstairs. Now what kind of dedication did he have? A one-man show. He was the teacher. To teach this Chinese kid, the Mexican Chinese kid how to write, so he would construct a big piece of construction board and write a character on the left, and then break the character down to every stroke, how to write this character and how to pronounce it. And every stroke has a different color. And there was no more school for him. He said, what are you going to do with all this teaching material that is so precious? He wouldn't give it away. I was in the Colonial Museum, he wouldn't give it away. So for those of you Cuban Chinese, you have your old stuff and you want to get rid of about your Cuban Chinese history, this museum may be a place to collect it for you, so it wouldn't get lost or cut some away. You get a message, Eva?
I have a lot
I'm
of,
pushing her.
I have too much. I don't think they want that much.
Oh yeah. Now, on the left is Cuba, the Barragun, where the Chinese slaves lived among African slaves. And I was on top of a 5-story tower to look down. In the backgrounds, there were the sugar plantation, tobacco plantation, and the tower is to watch whether these slaves would run away or not. On the right, Chinese mine workers in Mulahay, Baja, Mexico. And I was looking for Chinese grave, but I didn't see any sign. And then the gravekeeper saw me looking around, and he said, these are the Chinese graves. No marking whatsoever. Copper mine in Mulahay, Baja, Mexico. And there are several towns, small towns like that, mining sites like that I found later. So it's a long history, 1880. And then I got this 4 days ago, this picture, from Facebook friends who know that I was doing something like this. I said, can you find me a picture of the Chinese Barragun in Macau? Can you read the information in the back? 豬仔館啊，自代館啊。So, who were the ones who left that area? Okay, look at these folks. These are the folks sometimes you see in Chinatown. The one who clean the fish for you, the one who do the barbecue, the one who do all the transit of groceries. So some of them returned to China, some of them died there. One of them, another page, went to asylum. Look at these faces. So this is El Cobre, where the Chinese and the African slaves work in this copper mine. And this is the outside of the tunnels. So from there, I didn't want to go any further because there was no illumination. I didn't want to drop dead in the trenches like my ancestors. because the English foreman used the candle money to buy beer, and when the candles got burned out in the tunnels, people dropped dead, injured, and they died in the trenches. So later on, when they dug the body out, they throw it outside. At that time, there was no water, but just outside. When the mine was abandoned, the water level came up and covered them. It happened that when I was there, I brought this tea, dried fruit, lap qiang, and cha yi for my offering. I encountered these two mounds. They look like grave mounds. And I put them there, and I didn't put the rose petals there. It was blown by the wind to them. I didn't do the flower pot. I didn't even bring a bouquet. So the bone boxes, Havana, Sagala Grande on the right. Anyone of you been there? Mr. Lam, were you there? There, your ancestral homeland.
Yeah.
So a Chinese woman marrying a Cuban woman, he died first and then she died, and no relatives, and they put her skull in the Chinese cemetery, Sagala Grande. And I photographed this at the beginning, and my friend sitting in the back was looking for her grandfather's bones. I said, leave me alone, let me photograph this first. And when I'm done, I help you look for it. And I'm done, and look, right on the left is your grandfather's bone. It is that kind of happening. It happens to me all the time. So the Chinese Masons, Hong Mun, they're the ones who took care of all the immigrants overseas, starting from Burma, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, of course, all the rocky mining towns, and Cuba, Peru, Mexico. Without Hong Mun, I think the Chinese would suffer a great deal. Although it's an underground society, supposedly. So Chairman Mao is moving in. So you know what's happening. So eventually, the one in Havana, all these have to go. They will not, the Chinese government would not want to recognize Hong Mun. So the climate is changing. There's some diehards in San Francisco that would not accept this. I don't know about the one in New York, I need to look into it. They would not allow this to go into their building, the Chinese flag. So, time is changing. Let's see how far you can stand. The reason the
Toisan or from that region. So it's a very important history, and I'm really glad Pok is doing the work of documenting the story of how Toishanese people went all over the world, and then the communities they established. So I want to hear more about that. But I'm just going to ask one question. I'm going to turn it over to the audience. But photography, which you didn't really get into much, but that's your medium. And I'm just curious, like, if you didn't get into photography, if you didn't pursue photography, what do you think would have become of your life?
Well, when I was working in Halifax, within 1 month, my boss offered me a partnership. And I left within that year. He said, anytime you want to open a business with me, just come right back. You don't need any capital. I give you 50%. I turned it down. He wants to open a chain restaurant, just like McDonald's, he said. So I turned it down because I thought my passion is not in the kitchen. Because look at all these old guys, you know, the old chefs wearing aprons, working until 80 years old. Do I want to do that? I don't come to America for that, right? I'm going to do it better than my ancestors.
So why photography? What drew you to this medium?
Because I'm not good at anything else. I'm only a photo boy.
That's very Cantonese.
Yeah.
The modesty. Or is it? Is that Cantonese?
Yeah.
How were you as a cook? Were you good?
No, I had to cut up 5 dozens of chicken, skin and bone apart within one night. Following night, 5 boxes of spare ribs. Following night, 5 boxes of pork shoulders. The 4th night, get up your batter and deep fry it. You know the routine, right?
Yeah.
So I learned from that.
I'm shocked that this is your first time doing anything public, a talk, an exhibition, otherwise in New York.
For the last 10 years, I put my effort into Asia, in Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. Because I found that when I try to approach curators, they ignore me. I said, I'm not going to waste my time. I hate to say it, a lot of them are Caucasian. You know what I mean? I'm not one of them. You know, I'm not white enough or something. I don't know what it is. I think the Chinese theme is a barrier to the mainstream culture. And they cannot see the history all the way from the Industrial Revolution in Europe. How it affected the entire world, including India and China. And how some of us are in the Caribbean, in Africa now. So, I think a lot of these curators do not have this kind of perception to understand the depth of this history, therefore into images.
Who here would want to see an exhibition of Pok's work?
Who wants to
In New
see my
York.
work here?
I will talk. And actually, Alice Mong is here. Alice, can you raise your hand?
Hello.
Alice has actually introduced us to Pok, and Alice used to be the executive director here, now is at Asia Society Hong Kong. So thanks, Alice, for the connection. So yeah, any questions out there from the audience?
Yes.
Maybe you mentioned it, but like, you were born in Hong Kong?
Correct.
So where in Toisan, like, what village name are your ancestors from?
Ah,
I would like to know.
my dad is from Sun Vui.
What?
Sun Vui. Sin Vui.
Linh Hoài,
Linh Hoài.
Linh Hoài.
Liên Vui. Xin mà phích Toisan boy. Liên Vui.
Linh
Long
Hoài.
Vui.
Have you been there?
Long Vui Lake, yes, 3 times. And I was the first one in the family to go back. And my mom is from Ngap Lei Tui Tun, Toishan, not far away from Toishan. And I've been back many, many times. Brought my son along. I make sure my son had been to these villages.
I think it would be interesting if everybody put their ancestors' village names on like a piece of paper. I mean, like, I'm just saying. Like,
Well, make sure you
that would be very
write things down, you know, for
Yeah.
your family's sake.
I could vouch that he knows Toisan really well, and he's very good at helping people find their ancestral villages. I think nowadays too, you'd be surprised how good Google Map is. You know, it's a great help. So if anyone really is interested to go and seek your ancestral homes, and you have the benefit of Pok Chi's help, I would say do it.
I introduce you to somebody else. Because I cannot go there too many times now. So last week, there was a guy from watching the YouTube video that I made, and he was really wanting to get connected with his ancestor. Wanted me to go back with him. Oh, I don't think I can do that anymore. So I introduced it to somebody else who really know how to do it as well. No better than I can. Somebody from there, in Hoi Ping, right in Toishan. So, with cars, vehicles, you name it, hotel, meals, all can be arranged. So let me know if you need any of that help.
There's also a Toisan library in Toisan that if you ever get a chance to go, yeah, who's the Toisan?
Sito is a big Hawaiian name.
They have ancestral vintage going all the way back to the Southern Sun.
Well, Sito Mei Tong was a dragon head in New York. Do you know that? Big time Chinese Mason guy who kept the doctors understand from San Francisco traveling by train to Utah, to Detroit, all the way to New York to raise funds. However, he got locked up by Chairman Mao.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the photos are very stunning, obviously, but also alongside, it seems to me like you're a historian of this, like you said, these centuries-long history, right? And I think especially, particularly probably in your generation, but even through mine, like there's always the pressure to be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever thing, right? So, I guess, how did you do it? Like what, did you try those things first? Or
That's
did
why
you
I'm
feel
not
like-
good at, I'm not good at anything else.
So you just got like your camera and your
No, I just
backpack
got
and you
into
started
this passion
traveling
that I
around?
want to know more. I want to know more. I'm not a historian and I'm not an anthropologist. But somehow when these scholars, when they look into my photographs, they can write long essays, I tell you, 5 pages. And I don't have that kind of scholarly knowledge to do that. They could see the depth within the photograph. And they're the one who brought up, oh, you should know this, you should know this. And then I go home and go on the internet and learn all this. So I'm a really late learner in terms of history. And by being pushed by somebody else. Otherwise, my ignorance is shown left and right, and still is. So, yes.
So you spent a fair amount of time looking at the diaspora in Cuba and also in the United States.
Correct.
Could you compare any differences in the nature of the interactions with the majority population
Yes.
in Cuba versus US?
Actually, you should compare to Burma, the Chinese in Burma, Cuba. These two are somewhat alike. In comparing to America, America is a free country. Cuba is a communist country. Therefore, gone into poverty big time after 1959. And it's getting worse and worse. So keeping ancestry is getting more and more difficult. Whereas in America, you have lots of scholars, you have lots of people who can still speak the native language, and you still have relatives in China. So the connection is still very strong. Whereas Cuba is just about 100% gone. Because lots of them have left Cuba to the United States. Lots of them in Miami, in Florida area. Some of them have gone as far as LA now. Whereas in America, we are also spread out, We have the capacity to contain more of us in different parts of the country. Whereas in Cuba, you have nowhere else to go.
Were there ever, like Chinatowns, kind of communities like that in Cuba?
Cuba had the biggest
It's
Chinatown.
about died off now. It used to be 20 blocks, crossways
In Havana?
in Havana.
Yes.
Yes.
We
That was
had
the largest
largest Chinatown
in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean.
I was in Havana about 8 years ago, and I went to Barrio Chino, and the people there told me, es also Barrio Chino más grande en el mundo que no tiene chinos.
It's true.
And
That
it's
is
true,
true.
there was hardly any Chinese living there. There was a Confucius Institute, and there were a couple of Chinese restaurants. Seemed to be run mostly by recent immigrants, not from Canton. So I'm wondering, I was told they left after 1959, but I was wondering where did they go and why? And I was very intrigued by your photo of the militia. So these were like the pro-Castro militia in the
Correct.
revolution in '59?
Correct.
And they were involved in purging some of the Chinese presence from Havana?
Well, the interesting thing is a lot of the communist ideas actually came in 1923. San Diego de Cuba. And this guy called Jose Wong To Ba. So the really critical people who have left China to bring communism to the Chinese community in Cuba.
Mhm. So do you have a clear sense of what the role of these militias were in
Primarily in Chinatown, kicking out the bad stuff,
Mhm.
the opium dens and the brothels and the gambling joints. And the communist, the Kuomintang, China Bank. Immediately, it fell into poverty. Immediately. So,
Other questions?
So
Yes.
you said something earlier, which was, like, your son can speak Toisan.
no, Cantonese.
Cantonese, okay, but like, that's being lost, so that's not being taught. So does Toisan go away in 50 years? What's your view on that?
Well, you know, in Cuba, it's practically gone. I don't know many people can speak Toishan anymore, maybe less than 10, the old timers. And some of the Cuban-born Chinese, they could still speak it a little bit. And whereas in Myanmar, it's very strong. The Toishan dialect, way in the mining towns in the northeastern part of Burma, they were still speaking Toishan and practicing rituals that I haven't seen before. And I thought, why, how could this be carrying on, you know? He said, what else can we carry? That's a very good answer. What else can you carry other than your own? So it's kept that way.
Do they still make Toisan movies? Because everything's in Myanmar.
Toishan, I've never seen a Toishan movie.
Yeah.
There are plenty of Cantonese movies, bad and good ones. Well, the latest good one, the best one is called The Last Dance.
Oh, for sure.
Paul Day, you got to see that. And they actually have a longer version now, 3.5 hours.
The Last Dance?
Yeah.
The Last Dance. It's upon out of the viewers' request. They want a long version, not the short version. There's a whole change in cultural tones right now in Hong Kong. Now, the good movies are actually coming out within the last few years. Very good movies. No longer kung fu stuff.
Other questions?
Add on to the Toisan language thing, I teach a free Toisan class on Zoom, if you guys can ask me later, every Thursdays.
For those of you who want to learn Toishan,
Yeah, you can talk to me later, it's free class. And Kim, you want to say something about your program? Kim teaches Cantonese for free every Thursday.
撈妹話佢佢。撈妹。
Hi, I'm Kim, and I volunteer to run.
Yes, sit up, sit.
Oh. Hi, I'm Kim, and I volunteer to run a Cantonese and Toisan language and social society. I'm here to promote Cantonese and Toisan language and culture. We have monthly social gatherings for people who want to mingle and practice and learn Cantonese Toisan. I have some friends here too. Thank you for teaching Toisan. I volunteer to teach Cantonese and Toisan at the same time, virtually and in person every Thursdays. I've been doing this for over 15 years. And so I'm here to promote and keep Cantonese and Toisan language alive. Eventually, actually, we did a few videos of members of Cantonese Toisan Society to have them speak in Toisan and Cantonese and tell them to send a message out to people that we are preserving Cantonese Toisan. One of the people that were in the video is Peter Moy. Stand up! Peter, so yeah, oh, yeah. born here, born in New York City. I was born in New York City's Chinatown, Pell Street. Yeah, but anyway, and he's also born here as well. We speak Toisan and Cantonese, so represent, right? And we're gonna keep it alive. And actually, his video made over 33,000 views. I was like, ooh, you go, Peter. Yeah. So my email, I do this all for free, is to promote and preserve Cantonese Toisan. We're still around and we're still contributing to society. Okay, and also want to mention Toisan. They helped build the United States Transcontinental Railroad from 1865 to 1869. I do have a pop-up exhibit, small exhibit, once every few months. It's Cantonese and Toisan language, Cantonese and Toisan American contributions and language. So my exhibit promotes the contributions of the early Cantonese and Toisan people who helped build the railroads for this country and develop Chinatowns worldwide. And also, the exhibit also promotes Cantonese and Toisan, where I promote books of people who teach Cantonese and Toisan. One of them is Jay Wu. Yeah, and also I collected a lot of Chinese American history books on Toisan railroad builders, and also I have displays on actually I've interviewed quite a few Cantonese Toisan people who were in the U.S. military, and I have displays on them. It was a lot of work, and also displays on the railroad, which I researched online, asked permission for, and displayed them in my exhibit. Please join me. Go to my website.
What's your website?
www.Chinatown Cantonese Toisan, Toisan, Chinatown Cantonese Toisan.com. And my email, I teach Cantonese virtually and in person every Thursday, and also on WhatsApp, so you can learn on your own. You will hear my annoying voice on the audio teaching Cantonese, stuff like that. Cantonese.
Can we share it on our social media? That way everybody can.
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
My email is proudtobecantonese@gmail.com. I wanted to add Toisan, but it was too long. Yeah, but anyway, so that's my email, proudtobecantonese@gmail.com. We have monthly socials where we're going to bring people together to practice and learn the language. Anybody can come. It's a multicultural, multi-generational group. Anybody's welcome. It doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or 99 years old, please come. Yeah, so anyway, this has been my dream to have this whole society to bring people together. So please go on the website and email me. So,
What's your name?
What's your name?
We'll share the information on our Instagram and everything, so you can check that. Thank you, Kim. Maybe a couple more questions. You up there?
Well, I'm supposed to be in Toisan for the G-Family Associate meeting next week, but I got a stomach problem, so I came back yesterday on an emergency. I'm glad I did. I was able to join your presentation. We met in Havana in 2017. I'd like to just begin to announce. I spoke with Michael. We are thinking of organizing a tour with museum people to visit Tasmania's museum in the Greater Bay Area, which is the former Pearl River Delta. I've been working with Peter Lau, who's in Toisan. We visit the new museum in Toisan. So we mapped out a tour so that we could bring people. But before I came back, I actually went to the Hong Kong History Museum. I had visited that museum about 40 times because I started at Fulbright in 1991. But the entire story has been revamped in terms of narrative from a more Chinese version. So when I went there, I was a little hesitant because it was talking about security, law, but when I went through the exhibit, to my surprise, great surprise, a collection of the original document of overseas Chinese railroad worker, all the detail that you would like to know, because I've seen many museums in Toishan and Guangzhou, but the Hong Kong museum blew my mind. I didn't have time, but I would encourage, if you have a chance, it's under new leadership, a very different point of view, extraordinary collection of overseas Chinese that I haven't seen before, the original documentation. So Hong Kong is an incredible place for research. The British ran it for many years. So the archive is so rich, and the curator, it's just incredible, world class, with financial backing from China. It's just APEX, just finished in South Korea. APEX will be in Shenzhen next year. And so there is this connection with Hong Kong and Shenzhen and Guangzhou. Guangzhou is it's just incredible discovery of the Zhao Tuo general from the Chen Wang's dynasty. They discover in the 70s excavation of hotel, they found graves of the Nanhai, the Yue. So the extraordinary amount of a museum. So I mentioned it to Mike before I left. He said, hey, he's interested in looking into developing some kind of tour around October and November to avoid hours. So I just want to make the announcement, if anybody's interested, keep in contact with Michael. And I came back early, and so we have a year to consider organizing a museum tour for curator for around, basically United States and all the world to visit these different places that we're going to map out.
Thank you, Bear.
Thank you.
Okay, Alice has a question.
Thank you, Herb. More than a question, I want to thank Pok Chi. I'm so glad I made it toward the last half of your presentation. When we met, and I need to acknowledge Wellington and Virginia over there, who introduced me to Pok Chi. It's only about 2 years ago. I think we met during COVID.
Correct.
So it was always the idea, exhibition, and that's one reason I introduced him to Michael. Michael worked for me, and then I had the distinction of hiring before I left. My last hire was her.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to be back, and I'm now based in Hong Kong. But before I also want to introduce a very special person. He doesn't know I'm going to introduce him. Stefan. Stefan is here, and he has a bit of a connection. And Stefan Lam. And last time I worked with Stefan, it was to do an exhibition of his father's work. And his father is one of the most famous Cuban Chinese that I know. And I think the exhibition is going to be at MoMA, opening next week. Those of you who know Wilfredo Lam.
This week.
This week, well, this week, members only, but next week, I think, publicly. And Stefan, I met in Hong Kong, I think, shortly after I arrived. And so I'm really excited. Asia Society in Hong Kong, doing about 3 years ago, we did the exhibition of Wilfredo's work, and we call it homecoming, because Wilfredo Lam was born in Cuba and had a distinguished career he's one of the most famous artists from that era, but nobody knew he was Chinese. But and I think he never made it back to his hometown in southern China. So I'm really excited to see the exhibition. And one of his most famous work was bought by MoMA during the war.
Yeah.
And it's never been seen, and maybe because of his Cuban passport, because he was so patriotic, he always had a Cuban passport. There are major retrospective of Wilfredo's work Pompidou and in
Tate Modern and
Tate
René
Modern
Sophia.
that has never been done in the United States.
No.
And so I'm personally really excited, and I think this ties in to Pok Chi's work. I mean, it was here at MOCA that I realized I'm a new immigrant, that we, Chinese diaspora was all over, Jamaica, Cuba, Brazil, and I think Pok Chi said, so I think the story is really fascinating. So those of you who make it to Hong Kong, come to see me. There's been a lot of tours now. There's a lot of the museums along the GBA coast. They are really fantastic, and they're also encouraging ancestral research and so on. So I have a feeling you're going to see more of these type of tours, and please stop by. And I think that museum, that show you talked about, I saw it a few weeks ago. I took my staff, and it is really a fantastic show. And it's a collaboration with a museum, I believe, in California. So I think you're going to see more collabs, but I think definitely Pok Chi exhibition of your work. Thanks.
Thank you.
We don't have Pok Chi have the last word, so any questions for a last question for Pok Chi?
Yeah, there's only 2 million Toisan people in the world. 1 million in Toisan and 1 million overseas. So you think in the next generation, the language might become extinct? And what's your view on that?
Supposedly, there are more Toisan outside China than in Toisan. In other words, a lot of Toisan folks want to leave, come to America, Australia, because Toisan remains pretty poor. You might see, tall buildings and everywhere, but people's pockets have very little money, and therefore very little chances for them to develop. And it's not a center for any kind of economy. So people still have a long desire, strong desire, from generation to generation to leave. And now the children are getting less and less because of the one-child policy. So you get that conundrum. I think with Moy, Ben, the volunteer to teach Toisan is really, really important, because I feel that that's my root, even though I wasn't born there.
So
Yes.
actually you are from Sunwoo, you are next to Toisan.
Yes.
But then Toisan people are still coming. If you walk around New York Chinatown, Brooklyn Chinatown, Brooklyn Chinatown, you walk in the restaurant, you will hear people speaking Toisanese.
Yes.
It's very common. They are still leaving and they are still coming here. So it's not going to be lost. And then some of the people, they have roots from the overseas Chinese, like John Long, the guy that found the Chinese